Step 3. I'm gonna try this. Step 3. Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is all about my gallery wall. If you follow me on my personal Instagram, you probably have seen my gallery wall, but either way, this is a step-by-step guide, instructions, how-to, advice. This is how I did it. This is how I created my gallery wall, which has easily become my favorite part of my apartment. Easily top 3. But anyway, I'm calling this my thrifted gallery wall because all of the frames that I needed to get, I got from Goodwill. All of them? Yeah, all of them. All of the artwork that I have is artwork that I've collected over the years that's been gifted to me from loved ones to myself, but it's stuff that I've had built up probably over the last 10 years. Some of it never seen the light of day, which is so sad, but I'm also glad that clearly my tastes have not changed. Let's jump right in with step 1, choose a wall. Almost as soon as I moved into my apartment, I knew that I wanted to do something with this wall. It was big, it was bare, it was spacious. It was in an area that I would see all the time, so I wanted to make it fun to look at. That's pretty easy. Now step 2 is choose your artwork. Now this step might come out of order for you. Maybe you're like me and you already have a bunch of artwork. Maybe you want to go out and find some new artwork. It's really up to you. I have a wide array of things, very eclectic, which as you'll see is kind of the vibe I went for my wall. If possible, I recommend getting a variety of different sizes and maybe even shaped pieces. Some small ones, some big ones, horizontal, vertical. Kind of change it up if you're going for, again, that more eclectic look. Obviously, if you want them to all be matching, then get them all matching. But just my tip for how I made my wall. Step 3. Full disclosure, I did this step kind of out of order when I made my wall and I really regretted it, which is why I'm putting this step 3 here. Buy your frames first. This is where the bulk of your thrifting is going to come in unless you also wanted to thrift some artwork. Now, like I've said probably like 6 times now in this video, I have artwork that has never seen the light of day. I've had artwork for over 8 years probably that I've never hung up because I didn't have frames for it, and frames can be really expensive. Especially if you're doing a gallery wall, you're gonna need a lot of frames. Now, I don't suggest walking into a store just willy-nilly grabbing any frame you see, but really plan it out. So, grab your measuring tape, grab all of the artwork that you want to hang, measure it, write down your measurements, make sure you have your list, go into your thrift store with your measuring tape, find the frames and start measuring away. Whip that bad boy out. You might think people think you look weird. You look prepared. Don't let them fool you. Measure away with your measuring tape. Measure, 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 measure. I also recommend before time you kind of think of what materials and stuff you want, what you want your wall to look like. Do you want it to be all matching? Do you want it to be more eclectic? For me, I knew I wanted to go with black frames, and then I wanted to do like dark and medium toned woods. That was really kind of my jam. And then one other sub tip for when you're finding frames, I recommend finding frames with easily removable backs. Now I didn't do this for all of mine because I just got into like such a tizzy of like just finding the perfect frame, but ones that you can easily take the back off. A lot of old frames have like paper over the back, which you can still remove, but then like the back is just cardboard with some nails. Again, you can still use it. I just ripped off the paper, put in my picture, and then just use like painter's tape to close the back because no one sees the back. So it's totally doable. It's just like a couple of extra, maybe unnecessary steps. So that's just something to be on the lookout for. Now keep in mind you may need to go to multiple thrift stores or the same thrift store, multiple weeks. It's usually not like a one and done kind of deal, especially if you have pieces of artwork or things that you want to frame that are not traditionally shaped. Now, for example, I have this watercolor drawing that my friend Julie made for me like 8 years ago. And she's not, the traditional artist, but I just love this thing. And I wanted to frame it to add it to my wall, but it's not traditional dimensions. It's like, it's like 7.25 by like 11. I don't know. There's no frame that fits this like even close. So I'm still on the lookout for a frame for this. I do know where I want to put it on my wall. if I ever get the frame for it. But just something to keep in mind if you have something with weird dimensions. You can kind of make up for it by like doing some kind of faux mat job, which I did a couple of times. But sometimes you just gotta, you know, wait for the perfect frame. I love this thing. Isn't it adorable? All right, step 4 should be pretty obvious. Frame your pictures. You've got the frames, you have the artwork, put them together for step 4. Again, if you have frames that have those tearaway backs that you have to do, or like some weird old back with nails, just get some painter's tape and tape it back. It'll be fine, no one will see it. Sometimes you might get a frame that doesn't have the little grippy claw doohingy thingy. I bought a pack of them from Lowe's to put on frames that either don't have it already, or if I want to change the orientation of the frame and needed a second one. I will say, whoever designed them is evil. They are the worst because the nails to get them in are they're so small. I was like, are my thumbs just huge? No, they're tiny. They're these little metal things. These little grippies. I don't know what they're called. They come with these nails that are so small, and I understand why they're so small, but like, do you see this? Can you see this? It is, I don't even know how to show you. It is so small. I did this like weird thing where I'd like kind of get it up straight and then I would tape over it and then whack and like hope for the best. But they're so small, so they're kind of a pain. Just be prepared to be frustrated and to hate your thumb. Honestly, some of them are in there so kind of haphazardly. I wouldn't be surprised if one of my frames fell down one day because the thing fell off. But maybe I needed a smaller hammer or smaller thumbs. I have huge thumbs. If your frame is a little bit too big, you can also kind of do, like I said earlier, a fake mat. You can also do like a professional real mat where like, you know, you get the real nice paper and cut out where it goes. I didn't do that. I have a bunch of like nice construction paper. So I just kind of put that in the background and then tape the picture in front of it. I knew that those pieces I would plan to hang kind of on the outer edges. They weren't gonna be center and focused. So I was like, it's okay. Like, if you look closely, you'll be like, oh, what a fake mat job. But can you see that? I just don't know what the goal is. Oh. I think he's comfy now. All right. Now that the commercial break is over. All right, step 5. Don't hang your frames yet. This is a trick that I actually think I learned from my mom. Was my whole wall inspired by my mom? To be fair, I'm always inspired by my mom. But yeah, now that I think about it, my mom has a gallery wall and our stairway going up to upstairs, that whole wall. And I remember when she put it up, she used newspaper cutouts to kind of arrange how she wanted it to be laid out. So yeah, my mom inspired me on this decor. Now my mom also has like 20 pots hanging from the ceiling in our living room, and that I don't think I'll ever do. Sorry, Mom. But this gallery wall was, I guess, inspired by you, Ma. But anyway, so find some paper. I save like paper from all packages I get. So I had a bunch of paper from Ollie's food order. And then I also had the wrapping, save the wrapping from my Who Gives a Crap toilet paper. Very specific. But newspaper also works great. So then take all your paper, trace out your frame, cut it out so that you have paper shapes of all of your frames. And then use some tape. I used painter's tape that I 100% stole from my family and brought it with me across the country because I don't plan on painting, so I haven't bought it. So I just took it because I live in an apartment and I can't paint. I also probably can't hang like 20 pictures, but I did that anyway. But now you can play around with the space that you have to kind of see how you want things to flow. Do you want things in order? Do you want a variety of shapes? Be creative, move those paper plate pieces around. Also make sure you label the pieces so that for the next step, when you go to actually hang them, you know what one you're hanging in which space, especially if you have pieces that are similarly sized, by taping them around. Yeah. That's pretty it. And then after you've tried out a number of combinations and you're pretty set on how you want it to look like, it's time to nail those babies up. Now, step 6, I hope you and your thumbs are ready, because it's time to hang your picture frames. Now, I'm no expert on hanging frames, but this is how I do it. If you do it a better way, which you probably do that. I basically use what I have for measurements. Now that I think about it, I'm all about measuring tapes beforehand, and then when I go to hang, I get so lazy that I'm like, I'll use my thumb or my forearm as a guide. But this is what I do. I go up to a frame, go up to the back of it. I would measure like, oh, I would want to hang the nail like one thumb down, or like one knuckle, or like one pinky finger. I don't know, whatever appendage I had available, which would be all of them. And then I would go to its paper cousin, one thumb, one knuckle, whatever it is, and that's where I would put the nail. But there's definitely better ways to do it. That's what I did. Now, the nice thing with the paper is that you can just put your nail where you want it and then just rip the paper off, because it's paper. If you want to save the paper, you could also figure out a way to do that, but this was easier. Now, step 7 is the moment you have been waiting for. Hang your frames. Get those bad boys up there and really just enjoy your gallery wall. And that's it. 7 steps, I guess, to making a gallery wall. As a reminder, I did not do this over one weekend. It took me a couple of weeks to find all of the frames that I wanted. A couple of things I had were already framed. And again, it took me years to acquire all the artwork that I wanted to showcase. If you don't have artwork, or you're thinking this would be great, but where should I get artwork? I suggest finding artists whose artwork you like and supporting them, going to local businesses to support. So shop small, shop local, all that good stuff. If you take a look at my wall, which I loved, let's just look at it for a second. The only thing that I actually bought new, other than the little backings for the picture frames, the only piece of artwork that I bought new was my Give a Damn felt banner from a company called Oxford Pennant. It's a small business based out of Buffalo, New York, and I'd been looking at that pennant for like over a year, and I was like, this is the perfect time to get it. But everything else I have up there I've collected over the years. Again, either painted or drawn by somebody I love, gifted to me by somebody I love. A lot of it was picked up at Comic-Cons over the years. The only new piece of artwork that I thrifted was actually the ostrich photo. I picked it up because I liked the frame, and then I was like, oh no, I'm keeping this. I'm not gonna get rid of this picture. Some of the things that I had on my wall were actually already framed, but in total I thrifted 11 frames for my gallery wall, and they ranged in price from $1 up to about, I think $6 or $7 was the max I spent on a frame, and I think it was the big frame. But anyway, that's my wall. I love it. I love how it looks. I love how it makes me feel. Each piece of artwork brings me so much joy, either because I know who made it, or like what event it reminds me of, or it reminds me of a favorite movie. It just brings me so much joy. I think more often than not, I especially get caught up in decorating where I'm like, everything needs to match, it needs to go perfectly. And that's not always the case. If that's how you decorate, good for you. I can't handle that, so eclectic has kind of become my design aesthetic for sure. But I don't think that should stop you from decorating in a way that brings you joy. But that's the video. Me just talking about how much I love my decor. I hope you liked this video. I hope maybe it inspired you to go to your local thrift store. Maybe not necessarily to do a whole entire gallery wall, but just see what's there in order to kind of spruce up your space. I have a ton of other just apartment decor that's also been thrifted, so there really are some really great gems. If you have a gallery wall, or maybe you're inspired to make your own, let me know in the comments below, or send me a picture over on the channel Instagram at AshleyandThePlanet. As always, be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you did in fact like it, and of course, subscribe. Until next time. thrift store and a little kid was, anyway, it's not that funny of a story.